I was 12 years old when my face started changing, and for 18 years, I had no answers as to why. For 18 years, I had no diagnosis. Specialists did try to examine me, but I just didn't get answers. My parents went an extra mile, but at the end of the day, I had no answers, but a face that just kept changing. This is my story, and I want to share the rawness of my journey and how I got here and everything that happened in between and everything that led me to becoming this person that you see today. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Jillian, and I live with Parry-Romberg Syndrome, a condition I didn't have a name for a long time. And I share my life, I share my healing, and I share most resources around building confidence. So I was born in Africa, in a place called Botswana. I now live here in England with my family, and I am an entrepreneur, I'm a businesswoman, and I'm a content creator. I love sharing positive things about life and changing people's perspective about living beyond their circumstances and living beyond their conditions. So I like saying I don't have a sad story because the way my life turned out, it turned out so well. And if nobody has ever told you you're more than what you look like, I am here to tell you today that what you look like shouldn't determine where you go in life. So let's start from the beginning. I'm so ready to tell you all about it. So I grew up in Botswana in Africa in a place called Francistown. I was a very happy, chubby little girl. I've always been a thick little happy girl. The happy girl who's like the center of attention for the family. An intelligent, beautiful girl. I've always been an academic back at school. And church was a part of our lives. Like faith was non-negotiable. We knew we had to go to church every Sunday. And my mother made sure that we did all that. So that's my image over there. I have few pictures of myself at a young age because cameras were not very common back there. But as you can see, I was a completely healthy girl until when I was 12 years old. So when I was 12, I went to the farm one day, and when I was at the farm, I developed just a ringworm right here. It was just a small ringworm anyway, nothing to be concerned about. So we ignored it for days, and it got itchy, aggressive, and my mother said, I think we need to go to the doctor. Let's go and check this out, what it could be. And when we got to the doctor, we explained the situation, but the doctor was just dismissive. They said it's a ringworm. We'll give you creams. It'll just go away. Don't worry. And we believed them. I guess this time it was a different story because the ringworm never went away. It became very itchy, very aggressive. And that was the beginning of my journey. Next up, I lost like muscles on this side of the face. The ringworm attacked my eye. The ringworm became aggressive each day. So every day, my face was changing. My eye was sinking in, and my nose was just leaving. My face was literally collapsing in front of me. And by the time I was 13, 14, I was completely unrecognizable. I don't have pictures from back then when I was like in high school because it was a hard journey. I couldn't just take pictures. I couldn't make peace with what was happening. And I just was wondering, when is this going to end? I didn't know that I had a long journey in front of me. But I'm just laughing because I remember the strength I had. I remember telling myself and believing that God will heal me. I honestly believed that everything was going to be okay. One day I'll wake up and my face will be full again. Honestly, I sometimes think like what made my journey worth was that I was a teenager. Because as a teenager, I was trying to learn who I am and I was trying to discover myself, learn my changing body, but my face was changing. I was literally looking at my identity changing right in front of me. And the most painful thing was that I was helpless. There was nobody telling me what to do, or at least what it's called. I think that's the crazy part about navigating this condition because it's very rare. And out of 500,000 people, you have one person that can have this condition, and that person was me. And then there was the community, people staring at me, and then there were people whispering, and then people making assumptions, and then the dismiss of doctors. Like, I fought so hard to be seen. I fought so hard to try to say, hear me out, at least go make a research, at least bring me an answer of what this is called. But I wasn't in the luck. If you've ever been dismissed, if you've ever not been taken seriously, I think you know how it is. And I know I see you. I know exactly what you're going through because I've been there. For me to end up living for 18 years with my condition, it was because I had no other choice. People were just dismissing me. So I see you if you're going through this. So let's talk about the years in between, what happened. Because from 12 years old, I went to high school. And I won't say those years were easy. Those were the hardest years of my life because I was going to join a new school and I had people whispering from all directions. And I had two choices. I had to make a choice to stop going to school altogether, be afraid of these people, or for me to learn to live with it. And those years were very hard. Nobody was understanding what I was going through. And I just saw my parents sinking. I saw the mental health of my parents going down. I've got five lovely siblings. I also saw them just deteriorating. Everybody was depressed. Everybody was so stressed. And because we were kind of helpless, there was just nothing we could do. And honestly, we had no mental health support because back home, where I come from, mental health is not a serious topic, honestly. You are expected to toughen up and go do life, you know? You like expected to pull your shit together type of vibe. While we're at it, let me admit that the physical parts, like the face changing, wasn't the problem. The problem was the emotional weight. The emotional weight was extreme. Why? Because I wasn't feeling any pain physically, but I was feeling pain emotionally. I was feeling the type of pain that you can't explain. So I needed a solution. And I had a best friend. I had a best friend who stuck by me. So Amanda stuck by me. I'll shout out to you, girl. You carried me through those times. You never left my side. So Amanda's uncle had a huge library at home and he taught us to read. He said, girls, you need to read. You need to invest in reading. I didn't understand what he meant, but little did I know that was my gateway. That was me learning how to escape, how to be grounded, how to deal with my condition. I turned to books. The library became my safe space. I even learned how to journal, how to write my feelings. So from reading, I learned how to journal and I felt a relief. I felt like my journal could see me. I felt like my journal understood me. I felt like when I'm reading, there's nobody staring at me. It's just me and the book. So I went on to read personal development books. I went on to learn how to journal. I learned how to meditate. I learned how to sit in silence. And most of all, I decided from that point that my condition was never going to call the shots. I decided at that point that academically, I'm going to be an icon, and I did become an icon. I did become the student who was always on top. If you wanted a merit student, you could come find me. I invested so much in reading, revising, because part of it is that I wanted relevance, you know? I wanted to be so relevant such that you couldn't ignore me. And I knew that I was going to become an outcast if I didn't do something. I knew that if I didn't become relevant and needed on one area of life, I was going to be useless. So I decided that I become the best at school. I become the best academically, such that People need me. They come to me for a vision, for help, for support. And that really helped me to build a social cycle because people wanted to be around me because I'd helped them. As much as they were keeping me around because I was of benefit, I created it. I wanted to feel purposeful. I wanted it, and I made sure that I made the use of it. And as time went on, people around me started to see me as a person, not me as a diseased girl, or not me as a sad story, or not me as a girl who had a condition and her life fell apart. So slowly but surely, the journey turned out well in high school, and we now went to college. And in college, it was a totally different ball game together. Oh, yeah. So we went to college. So I went to college in the same city that I was living in with my parents. And the most incredible thing happened when I got there. I met a childhood friend who knew me before. And the difficult part was explaining to her what had happened. That was like the most difficult part because she knew me looking all smooth. She didn't know the side of me. And somewhere, somehow, we did crack the conversation to explain what happened. And we became good friends again. And I also met like other three wonderful ladies, and we became a tired squad that valued academic excellence. And during this time, I was meeting new people who had never known my journey, people who had never seen me change. They were seeing me in my changed state. And there was something incredible that was happening there because 3 years ago, when the condition started, I had started a journey of self discovery, of reading. I had started a journey of journaling. I had started a journey of grounding myself in my relevance. Things were much easier. Things were going so well. And although some days were bad, some days were good, but generally the journey in college was the best years of my life. It was the best years of my life basically because I was grounded in who I was. I was journaling, I was reading, I was perfect academically. I was the best student. And I was a member of the SRC, like the Student Representative Council. And the reason why I even went on to become a member of the council, the leaders council, the student leaders council, was because I wanted to put myself in front of the students. I didn't want them to gossip about me anymore. So I decided that I was going to put myself in front of them and I was going to be a person who they see, not just a person who they gossip about. So my brother encouraged me to go and join the SRC, and I joined the SRC. And my journey of joining the SRC went well. Then every other Monday, I'd stand in front of the students and give out like a little speech. So my college was the best years of my life, honestly. And then I went to uni. So I passed very well, and I went to uni to do what you'd consider like A levels, like an equivalent of A levels here. So I went to uni and I had my BSc, my Bachelor's of Sciences in Chemistry and Biology at the University of Botswana. That's where I started, and things were going well. And once again, I met a crowd of people. And by the time I went to college, I was very grounded in who I am. By the time I went to college, I was grounded in my rituals, in my reading, in my journaling, in my meditation. I had a system of emotion release. I had a system of journaling to prep myself for exams. In terms of relationships, I started navigating relationships as well. And I started navigating business, and things were looking brighter. And I always credit things going well to the foundation I did with books, with learning to meditate, learning to handle bullies, learning to become this person that I am today. It all started back there with my friend's uncle saying, you need to read. And it also started with me making a decision that I need to do something. I need to live with this positively because my family is drowning. I'm also drowning. And one of my biggest fears, honestly, was that if I don't become educated, if I don't become somebody, I was going to become a community reject. That was like one of my greatest fears because in Africa, education is your shield, it's your weapon. Education becomes your anchor. It gives you relevance. It kind of secures your future. It kind of gives you the respect. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I must say that because I navigated the topic of self worth, self confidence, self acceptance in my aloneness, in my corner, where I was reading, journaling, grounding myself in understanding that my worth had nothing to do with my condition. I think by the time I stepped out into the world, it was very difficult to reject me because you clearly could see that I was a person who knew who they are, what the type of worth they carried. And when I was navigating relationships, there was something very, very forward that I brought to the table. It was that you are not doing me a favor. No, we are here because you think we can date. You are here because you think I'm worth pursuing. And what you think of me doesn't change the fact that I'm worthy as a person, with your approval or without it. And I think that helped me navigate relationships better. And that helped me quite a lot to walk away from places where I wasn't wanted, to walk away from places where I wasn't valued. But it's a topic for another day. Now, there's nothing that amazes me about my story like this part, that TikTok gave me my diagnosis. Yeah, TikTok gave me my diagnosis after 18 years. So one day I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw a young man called Lucas Caldwell. For the first time, I saw somebody who looked like me. For the first time, I saw somebody with this condition. And that was a moment of recognition. I can't begin to explain to you how I felt. It was a moment of relief. It was like a moment I had wanted, I had waited for 18 years. It was a moment where I felt I'm not alone. There is somebody who looks like me and who speaks about it and who has had help from the doctors. So after all, there are people like me out there. And I got in touch with Lucas. He's a very wonderful young man, very wonderful, good friend of mine. We share each other's journeys quite a lot. He's got a big TikTok profile. Lucas Caldwell then shared with me that the condition is called Parry-Romberg Syndrome. Go to your GP and tell them. They will put something together. They will call others. They'll find you a team. Go, go. And at that moment, that's where I started consulting. That's where I started seeing consultants. And when I got to my consultant, actually, when I got to my GP first, they didn't know what it was as well. And my GP asked me questions, wrote, and then he started writing to other people across England. And I was like, shh, what a relief it was. A few months later, after that incident, I saw a team in West Sussex in East Grinstead, wonderful team of specialists, and my journey started. And I've had two surgeries ever since, one on the eye and one on the lips. And I have more surgeries coming up, hopefully. And honestly, I'm at a place where I feel so grounded. I feel so good about life, about myself. And I consider it an absolute opportunity, an absolute chance for me to be able to be a woman with a story that has a name. And I couldn't tell my story before because I didn't know what I'd call it. I didn't have a name. And it's been wonderful. I had my last surgery last Christmas, and I shared the video over there, and you can watch it. So you can see it's been quite a roller coaster. And you know what? Today I am not hiding. I am building my life in public, building my company in public. owning businesses, and honestly, I've had a really decent career life because I've navigated corporate life as well. One day I'll tell you more about that, about navigating corporate life with the facial difference as a Black woman. I will tell you more about it one day. But bottom line is that the story doesn't have a sad ending. And I'm so happy that you stuck along to the end. Now, I'm inviting you on this journey. I'm going to be making just these raw videos of me talking about my condition, my life, running a business, navigating corporate life, navigating relationships. And I honestly would love to see you come along, and I'd love to see you navigating your life with the best potential that you have. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. We are going to be going out, having conversations, doing things together, and I can't wait to show you life through my lens. Bye.